Sometimes life feels like we're stuck in a fancy cage we built ourselves, watching everyone else have fun while we wait for something exciting to happen. For rich lady Lydia Pembroke, that cage was full of pretty dresses and boring chats in the little town of Copperfield. But then a traveling fair rolled in with this super tall cowboy named Big Gus McCall, and wow, did things get wild. He's like 7 feet tall with the kindest heart ever, totally different from anyone she'd met. In a brave moment, Lydia whispered something that changed both their lives. Too big for me, but I'll give it a shot. But when scary bandits start messing with their new spark, can love really win when their worlds are so different? Okay, before we dive back in, where are you reading this from? And if you're loving this juicy story, hit that subscribe button because I've got something super cool saved for tomorrow. The morning sun stretched long shadows across Copperfield's main street, making the wooden shops glow all golden and warm. It was the kind of morning that screamed, anything could happen, but for some, even a perfect place can feel like a jail. In the biggest house for miles around, 28-year-old Lydia Pembroke sat at her fancy wooden dressing table, staring at her reflection with eyes that looked more sad than happy. Martha, her maid who'd been with her forever, was fixing her brown hair into a super fancy style, same as she'd done for the last 10 years. "Another tea party today, Miss Lydia," Martha said, popping a shiny pearl pin in her hair like it was no big deal. That little pin caught the sunlight, reminding Lydia how her days were stuck in the same boring routine. "Mrs. Henderson and her lady friends expect you at 2 o'clock sharp." Lydia ran her fingers over her silver hand mirror, one her mom left her when she died when Lydia was just 18. "Martha, do you ever think about just vanishing? Like waking up one day and being a whole new person?" Martha's old hands stopped for a second. She'd practically raised Lydia and could tell she was getting restless. "Now, Miss Lydia, why are you talking like that? You've got a gorgeous house, nice clothes, everyone respects you." "Everything except a choice," Lydia said softly, standing up to look out the tall windows at the town square below. Down there, shopkeepers were setting up for the weekly market. She spotted a young woman arguing with the butcher, her sleeves rolled up, boots muddy, totally focused on getting food for her family. "Look at her, Martha. She's so alive in a way I've never been." Martha came over, her face softening. "Your dad loves you, child. Everything he does is to keep you safe and happy." "Dad's idea of safe," Lydia said gently. "His idea of happy." She pressed her hand against the cool glass, feeling trapped from the world outside. Her dad, Edmund Pembroke, got rich by planning everything carefully and making smart deals, and he saw her future the same way. Hooves clomping down the street made them look. A wagon train rolled in, bright banners flapping on top. Even from up high, Lydia saw the crowd buzzing with excitement as word spread. The traveling fair was here. "Oh my," Martha gasped, leaning to see better. "Haven't seen a fair in years. Your mom loved those shows." Lydia's heart raced as she watched the wagons circle the square. Performers in colorful outfits hopped down to greet folks, and she saw shadowy shapes of weird animals in some wagons. But the guy stepping off the lead wagon, he made her gasp. He was way taller than anyone, with shoulders so wide they could block the sun. His dark hair hung past his collar, and even from far away, she could tell he moved with calm confidence. Unlike the other performers chatting up the crowd, he headed straight for the animals, checking their water and food with gentle care. "Goodness," Martha whispered. "That guy's big enough to wrestle a bear." "He's amazing," Lydia said without thinking, then blushed at how bold that sounded. Martha gave her a sharp look. "Miss Lydia, you don't mean—" "I mean exactly what I said." Lydia stood taller, feeling something inside her wake up. "When's the last time something truly awesome came to Copperfield, Martha? When's the last time my heart raced just looking out a window?" Before Martha could answer, heavy footsteps echoed in the hall. They turned as Edmund Pembroke appeared in the doorway, his silver hair perfect, his fancy suit crisp. At 55, he looked like a man everyone listened to without question. "Lydia, why are you staring out the window like some regular town girl?" His voice had that gentle, scolding tone he'd mastered. "Mrs. Patterson and her daughter are coming for coffee in 10 minutes. I was just watching the fair arrive, Father, Lydia said, stealing one last glance at the tall stranger below. Edmund's face darkened as he followed her gaze. Oh, that circus. I'll make sure Sheriff Clayton tells them to keep the noise down and act proper while they're here. Those kinds of people can be trouble. They're just entertainers. Father, no harm in that. There's always harm in chaos, my dear. Edmund stepped beside her, his presence filling the room. Order and respect keep this family strong. I won't let some wandering performers mess that up. Lydia felt that familiar tightness in her chest, like walls closing in. Of course, Father, I understand. But as Edmund left to get ready for their guests, Lydia stayed at the window. The giant man was done with the animals and was helping set up a stage, moving with careful strength. When he smiled at something another performer said, his whole face lit up, showing a softness that didn't match his huge size. Miss Lydia, Martha said quietly, picking up hairpins and ribbons from the table. Your dad means well. He's seen what happens when girls let their hearts take over. Has he? Lydia asked, still watching the scene below. Or has he just forgotten what it's like to have a heart? Martha didn't answer. She didn't need to. They both knew Edmund's heart had been locked away since his wife died 12 years ago, leaving only a businessman who thought love was something he couldn't afford for himself or his daughter. All morning, while Lydia sat through boring chats with Mrs. Patterson and her annoying daughter, Constance, her mind kept drifting to the window and the world outside. The women talked about new dresses from the East, the shocking things the minister's wife did, and how bad this year's roses were. But Lydia felt like she was hearing it all underwater. Don't you agree, Lydia? Constance said, her blue eyes gleaming with mean gossip. No proper lady would hang out with those rough circus people. Lydia blinked, realizing she'd zoned out. Sorry, I was distracted. What rough people? The circus performers, obviously. Mrs. Patterson jumped in, her voice full of judgment. Constance was saying no decent lady would even look at them. They're practically criminals. The words hit Lydia hard, though she wasn't sure why. She'd never met the performers, only seen them from her window, but she felt defensive. Have you met them? She asked carefully. Talked. To them to judge their character? The women gasped, trading shocked looks. Good heavens, no, Mrs. Patterson said. Why would we? Their job says everything about who they are. Does it? Lydia set her teacup down a bit too hard. I thought character came from what people do, not what they're paid for. Constance laughed nervously. Oh, Lydia, you're being silly again. Everyone knows good people don't wander around like nomads with no home or duties. Maybe, Lydia said slowly, they just have different duties. Maybe they bring joy and wonder to places that forgot how to dream. The awkward silence got broken when Martha brought fresh tea and cakes. Lydia caught her eye and saw something. Maybe approval, maybe just recognition that she was finally speaking up. The afternoon dragged on with boring stuff. Letters to answer, bills to check, plans for a dinner party. Lydia went through it like a robot, her heart yearning for something she couldn't name. But when the sun started setting, painting the sky pink and purple, she heard music and laughter from the town square. The fair was starting its evening show, and the whole town was there. From her window, Lydia saw crowds around stages and lanterns, glowing like a fairy tale. There in the middle was the tall guy from that morning, showing off his strength, lifting huge things, bending iron bars, tossing men in the air like toys. But even from far away, she could tell he wasn't showing off meanly. He got people to join in, made nervous folks feel okay, and seemed to love making the crowd happy. Miss Lydia, Martha said, bringing a dinner tray. Your dad said to bring this up. He's got business friends downstairs and didn't want you bothered. Lydia took the tray without complaining. It wasn't weird for Edmund to keep her out of his business talks, but as she poked at her food alone, the happy sounds from the fair made her fancy room feel like a lonely jail. Martha, she said suddenly, what was my mom really like? Not the perfect stories Dad tells, but really. Martha set down the water pitcher, thinking hard. She was full of life, curious. Your dad used to say she could light up a room just by walking in. Did she ever feel trapped, stuck by what people expected? Every woman like her felt that way, I bet. But your mom found joy in little rebellions, like walking in the rain without an umbrella, reading novels instead of going to tea parties, or redecorating a room just because she felt like it. Lydia smiled, imagining it. Small rebellions. Sometimes the tiniest fights change everything, Martha said softly. Your mom taught me that. That night, as the fair's noise quieted, Lydia lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The pearl hairpin from that morning sat on her nightstand, catching moonlight. Such a small thing, but it stood for everything suffocating her. Beauty with no purpose, rules pretending to be refinement, a life lived for others' approval. Tomorrow would bring more boring duties, another step toward the future her dad planned. But tonight, for the first time in years, Lydia fell asleep with her heart beating faster, dreaming of music, laughter, and kind eyes in a gentle face. She didn't know that 20 yards below, Gus was looking up at her mansion, wondering about the lonely woman he'd seen in the window. A woman who seemed as trapped as the fancy birds rich men kept in cages, beautiful, sad, and longing to fly free. 3 days after the fair arrived, Lydia's world fell apart like a dropped eggshell. She was reading in the morning parlor when her dad walked in with a fancy envelope that screamed importance. "Lydia, great news," Edmund said, sounding like he'd just made a big business deal. "Mr. Whitmore asked to marry you, and I said yes for you." Her book slipped to the rug with a thud. "Marriage? Father, I've barely talked to Theodore Whitmore a dozen times. But he's a perfect match. His dad owns the biggest bank from here to Denver, and Theodore's super smart with money." Edmund poured himself a big glass of brandy, even though it was early. "We're announcing the engagement tonight at dinner. Mrs. Whitmore's already planning the party." Lydia felt the walls closing in. "Tonight? But Father, don't we need more time to think about this?" "Think about what?" Edmund looked confused. "You're 28, Lydia. Most girls your age have been married for years. Theodore's rich, respected, and doesn't care that you're older. It's better than you could hope for." His words stung like a slap. "My age? Don't play shy, dear. You know your best marrying years are almost gone. Theodore's your ticket to security and status. What more do you want?" Love, Lydia thought. Passion, a say in my own life. But she knew better than to say that to her practical dad. Instead, she picked up her mom's poetry book and held it tight. "I need time to get ready for such big news," she said carefully. "Of course. Martha will help you pick a nice dress. Simple but classy. We want you to look like a proper wife, not some silly girl." Edmund finished his drink and left. Lydia sat in silence, staring at the fancy invitation that fell from his pocket, announcing the governor's ball next month. The pretty writing seemed to mock her, promising joy she didn't feel. She tore it in half. The afternoon felt like getting ready for her own funeral. Martha bustled around, picking jewelry and fixing her hair, but she was quieter than usual, like she knew how serious this was. "Miss Lydia," Martha said softly, putting pearls around her neck, "your mom would have wanted you to be happy." "Mom didn't get a choice in her marriage either," Lydia said, staring at her lifeless reflection. "Dad's told me plenty of times their marriage was arranged." "Maybe at first," Martha said, "but they found love later. Maybe you should accept this and hope for the best." Lydia stood up fast, her chair scraping the floor. "Martha, have you ever seen Theodore smile? Like, really smile? Not that fake look he uses in business talks?" Martha was quiet for a long time. "Can't say I have. Me neither. He gets more excited about money and property than most guys do about love." Carriages rolled up. Outside, Lydia went to her window and saw the Whitmore family step out, all dressed up and rich. Theodore got out first, fixing his perfect coat and checking his watch like being on time was the most important thing ever. He was good-looking enough, tall but not too tall, with neat brown hair and soft hands that never worked hard. His clothes screamed money. His posture screamed proper, but something about him creeped Lydia out. A coldness in his smile, a sneaky look in his pale blue eyes. As if he felt her watching, Theodore looked up. He raised his hand in a stiff wave, his face never changing from its fake pleasantness. Even from far away, Lydia could see he looked at her like she was something he'd just bought. Dinner went just like Edmund wanted. The fancy plates sparkled, and the crystal glasses glowed like stars. Mrs. Whitmore, a stern lady with gray hair, went on and on about wedding plans nobody asked Lydia about. "We'll have the ceremony in the new church," she said, waving her fork. "The Methodist chapel's fine for regular stuff, but a wedding this big needs something grand." "Of course," Edmund agreed, pouring her more wine. "Only the best for our Lydia." Theodore barely talked, just nodded and watched. Lydia like she was a math problem. When dessert came, he finally spoke to her. "Miss Pembroke, I'm sure you see how good this marriage will be for our families." Lydia looked up from her untouched cake. "I see you and my dad think it's great for business." Theodore frowned a little. "Money's the base of a good marriage. You must like knowing you'll be secure." "Secure?" Lydia repeated slowly. "Yeah, that's what every girl dreams of, being someone's bank account." Everyone went quiet. Mrs. Whitmore dropped her fork, and Edmund's face got red with embarrassment and anger. "Lydia," he warned, "you're just excited from today." But something inside her snapped, like a dam breaking after years of holding back. "Excited? No, Father, I'm thinking clearly for the first time in forever." She stood up, her chair scraping loud. "Mr. Whitmore, I'm flattered, but I can't marry you." Theodore's face turned all kinds of colors before landing on red. "Can't marry me? Miss Pembroke, you don't get it. It's already decided." "Decided without asking me," Lydia said, her voice getting stronger. "I'm not a deal. You two can make—" "Lydia!" Edmund's voice was sharp. "Say sorry and sit down." But Lydia was already heading for the door. "Sorry for ruining your evening, but I'm not sorry for refusing to be sold for family business." She ran from the dining room, leaving shocked faces behind. She heard her dad yelling and Mrs. Whitmore gasping, but she didn't stop until she got to her room, locked the door, and leaned against it, her heart pounding. She'd never stood up to her dad like that, never spoken so bold in front of people. The weight of it hit her like a heavy blanket. A soft knock broke her thoughts. "Miss Lydia, can I come in?" Martha's voice came through the door. Lydia unlocked it and let her in. Martha looked serious but kind. "Your dad's real upset," she said carefully. "I bet he is," Lydia said, pulling pins from her hair, letting it fall free. "Martha, what happens to girls who say no to the guys their dads pick?" "Depends on the girl and the dad," Martha said. "Some find other guys, some make up with their families, and some find their own way, no matter what." Lydia looked at her in the mirror. "The cost, being shunned, broke, living without family or society's help." "It's not easy, Miss Lydia," Martha said gently but honestly. "Neither is marrying a guy who sees me as a business deal." Martha stood behind her quietly. "Your mom once said she'd rather live one true day than a lifetime as someone else's version of her. Did she have the guts to live that way?" "She had you," Martha said simply. "That was her rebellion and her joy." Long after Martha left, Lydia sat at her window, watching the fair still going strong in the square. Even from far away, she could see Gus's tall figure moving through the crowd, big but gentle. Without overthinking, she changed out of her fancy dress into a plain blue one Martha made for gardening. She swapped her delicate slippers for sturdy boots and wrapped a simple shawl around her shoulders. The house was quiet. Her dad probably in his study with brandy, the Whitmores gone in a huff, the servants in their rooms. Lydia had never snuck out before, but desperation made her clever. She crept down the back stairs, through the kitchen, and slipped out the door. The night air was cool, smelling of wood smoke and grass. The fair was winding down, but a few performers were still cleaning up. Lydia paused at the square's edge, nervous someone might recognize her, but then she saw Gus, sitting alone by a small campfire near the animal wagons, playing a harmonica. The sad, sweet tune floated over, tugging at her lonely heart. Before she could chicken out, she walked toward him. Gus looked up, surprised but not scared. Up close, he was even bigger, tall, strong, with rough hands and a sun-weathered face. But his smile was so kind it changed everything. "Ma'am," he said, standing politely, "you're out pretty late." "So are you," Lydia said, shocked at her own boldness. He pointed to a log by the fire. "Want to sit? It's chilly tonight." She sat, and he took his spot across the fire. They didn't talk for a bit, just listened to the fire crackle and nightbirds sing. That was pretty music, she said finally. My mom's favorite song, Gus replied, touching the harmonica. She said it reminded her that even dark times end with morning. Your mom sounds smart. She was. Taught me strength isn't just lifting heavy stuff or fighting. Hard. It's being gentle when that's what's needed. Lydia watched his face in the firelight, seeing kindness in his eyes and how his huge hands held the tiny harmonica so carefully. This guy could probably knock down a house, but he talked about his mom with love and played soft music to calm the night. I'm Lydia, she blurted out. Lydia Pembroke. If her name meant anything, Gus didn't show it. Garrison McCall. Folks call me Gus. What brings you to the fair, Lydia? He looked into the fire, quiet for a moment. Sometimes a guy needs to vanish for a bit, figure out who he is when nobody's looking. His words hit her hard, like he was reading her mind. Tears stung her eyes. Have you figured out who you are? Getting there. He looked at her, and something clicked between them, like two people who knew what it felt like to be lost. Tonight, Lydia said softly, I told my dad I won't marry the guy he picked for me. Gus nodded, like that was no big deal. Takes guts to say no when everyone expects yes. Does it? Or is it just me being stubborn? Depends what you're saying no to, he said, not judging. Some things you shouldn't have to say yes to just because others think you should. His words felt like a hug, like he got what her family couldn't, that she had the right to say no to a life that would crush her. Too big for me, she whispered, blushing when she realized she said it out loud. Sorry, I was thinking about taking on stuff that seems impossible. Gus smiled, warm and slow, making her heart skip. My experience? The stuff that seems too big is usually worth trying. Their eyes met over the flames, and Lydia felt something new, a possibility, a door opening to a life she hadn't dared dream of. But I'll try, she whispered. Gus's face got serious, focused. Yes, ma'am, he said softly. I think you will. A church bell rang midnight, and Lydia realized how long she'd been gone. I should go before someone notices. Gus stood as she did, polite and careful. Will I see you again, Miss Pembroke? The question felt huge, full of hope and danger. Lydia knew seeing him again meant stepping further from everything she'd ever known. Another little rebellion that could grow big. I hope so, she said, meaning every word. The next morning, trouble hit fast and hard. Lydia was barely dressed when her dad burst into her room. No knock, his face red with anger and maybe panic. Where were you last night? His voice was low, scary, like he used for big business fights. Lydia met his eyes, finding courage she didn't know she had. I went for a walk. Needed air after last night. A walk? Edmund laughed, bitter. Theodore Whitmore saw you talking to a circus guy by a fire, alone. Her stomach dropped, but she stayed calm. Theodore was spying on me? He was worried about his future wife, as he should be. Edmund stepped closer, towering, over her like when she was little, but it only made her stronger. Do you know what you've done? The gossip you've started? I talked to a person, Father. I was polite. If Theodore sees that as gossip, maybe that says more about him. The slap came out of nowhere, so fast she couldn't brace for it. Her head snapped sideways and she tasted blood where her teeth cut her cheek. In 28 years, her dad had never hit her. They stared at each other, both shocked. Edmund's hand shook, still raised, while Lydia touched her stinging cheek. Edmund started, then stopped, his face pale. Lydia, I didn't mean... Yes, you did, she said, steady despite tears. You meant it all. So what? Now! Martha appeared in the doorway, seeing everything. Lydia's red cheek, Edmund's shocked face, the tension like a storm brewing. Mr. Pembroke, she said carefully, maybe take your coffee in the study while I help Miss Lydia. Get ready. Edmund looked from Martha to Lydia, struggling. Finally, he stood tall again. Lydia's not leaving this house until she comes to her senses and apologizes to Theodore. Am I a prisoner then? Lydia asked. You're a young woman who forgot her place and duties. When you remember them, we'll talk about your future. After he left, Martha closed the door and checked Lydia's cheek, her face mad. In all my years here, I've never seen him hit you." "He's scared," Lydia said, taking the cool cloth Martha brought. "I've never stood up to him like this. He doesn't know how to control me anymore." "Do you know what you're doing, child?" Lydia thought hard. "No, but I know what I'm not doing anymore. Pretending my life belongs to anyone but me." Over the next few days, the house felt tense, like everyone was holding their breath. Lydia was stuck in the mansion, her meals brought to her room, her letters opened by someone else. But instead of breaking her, it made her stronger. She read her mom's books, especially the poetry and ideas her dad called "not for ladies." Martha brought news from town with her meals. Through her, Lydia learned the fair was staying longer in Copperfield, which was weird and had everyone talking. "Some say they're waiting for better weather," Martha said on day 3. "Others think they're making too much money to leave. What do you think?" Lydia had a guess, but asked, "What do you think?" Martha's eyes twinkled. "I think a certain big guy's been asking about a certain young lady, real quiet-like, but word spreads." Lydia's heart jumped, though she tried to hide it. "What's he asking? If you're okay, if you've been seen around, if your family's upsetting you?" Martha fussed with flowers in a vase, her voice neutral. "Seems like a nice guy, Miss Lydia. Polite, respectful, asks before doing anything." That afternoon, while reading in the garden, Lydia heard a harmonica playing outside the wall, the same sad tune Gus played by the fire. She closed her eyes, feeling less alone. Then a soft voice called, "Miss Pembroke, you okay?" She checked for servants, then went to the wall, peeking through ivy. Gus stood in the alley, his face worried, harmonica in his big hand. "I'm okay," she called softly. "Thanks for asking. Heard folks say you're sick. Only sick of my family's rules," she said, then wished she hadn't been so bold. But Gus smiled, and her heart felt lighter. "That's harder to fix than most colds," he said. "Takes longer, too. You sound like you know." Gus's face got far away. "My dad wanted me to be a different kind of man. Took years to learn disappointing him was better than disappointing myself." His words hit deep. "What kind did he want you to be? Tough? Mean? Taking what he wanted without asking? Keeping what he had without sharing?" Gus tucked the harmonica away. "He said being gentle was weak, kindness was dumb. And what do you say? I say a guy who can't be gentle isn't strong enough to choose when to be tough." Lydia felt truth in his words, like they sank into her bones. Here was someone who knew real strength was making hard choices. "I should go," Gus said. "Don't want to get you in more trouble." "You didn't cause my trouble," Lydia said fast. "It was already there. You just helped me see it." He smiled, warm like sunshine. "Take care, Miss Pembroke. Some fights are worth having, even if you might not win." After he left, Lydia stayed by the wall, thinking about his words. Was her fight for freedom one of those? Was liking Gus worth the mess it was causing? That evening, Martha brought bad news with her tea. "There's talk in town about Mr. Whitmore," she said carefully. "What kind?" "He's asking about the fair's permits, their right to camp in the square." Martha's voice was worried. "Sheriff Clayton thinks he's looking for reasons to kick them out." "Why?" "Public safety, moral stuff, excuses people use to get rid of folks they don't like." "And Sheriff Clayton? He's fair, but practical. If enough big shots complain, he'll have to do something even if he doesn't agree." That night, Lydia couldn't sleep, her mind spinning. If the fair got kicked out, Gus would leave, and she might never see him again. The thought hurt more than she expected. But worse, she realized Theodore's attack on the fair was really about her, to stop her rebellion and force her back into his plans. For the first time since being locked up, she felt truly trapped. Her dad controlled her, Theodore controlled the town, and she felt powerless. But Gus's words echoed, "Some fights are worth having." Maybe it was time to fight her way. The next morning, an unexpected visitor came. Lydia was reading when Martha said Dr. Henderson wanted to see her. The old doctor who delivered her was like family. "Lydia, dear," Dr. Henderson said, sitting across from her, "I hear you've been unwell." "Have I?" Lydia put her book down, curious. "Who said that?" "Your dad. He's worried about your health, body, and mind." The doctor's kind eyes looked troubled. He asked me to check if your recent behavior is feminine hysteria. The words chilled her. She knew hysteria was a label used to control women who didn't behave. It could mean being locked in an asylum until she acted normal. I see, she said carefully. What's the check involve? Dr. Henderson looked uneasy. Your dad mentioned a private sanitarium just for a bit until you're better. Lydia's face went cold. This was her dad's big threat. If she didn't obey, he'd call her crazy and lock her away. That he'd use Dr. Henderson, someone she trusted, hurt even more. Dr. Henderson, do you think I'm hysterical? He studied her calm face, her clear eyes. You seem perfectly fine to me, child. Maybe a bit feisty, but that's not a sickness. Then why are you here? He sighed. Your dad's convincing, and I've known you forever. I hope to talk sense into you before this gets worse. What kind of sense? The kind that knows when to compromise instead of breaking everything. His voice was kind, but urgent. Lydia, I've seen what happens to girls who push too hard against society's rules. The world's tough on rebels, especially women. Lydia thought for a long moment. Were you here when my mom died? I was. I tried everything to save her. What really killed her? Not the fever Dad always talks about. The doctor's face got serious. Your mom died of a broken heart. She loved your dad, but losing herself in that love broke her. Her last month, she talked about dreams she never chased, places she never saw, things she never tried. And you think I should learn from that? I think you should know rebellion costs more than acceptance sometimes. After he left, Lydia sat in the fading light, his words in her head. She thought of her mom, dying young with regrets, and herself, choosing between a slow death or risky freedom. Outside, the fair's music and laughter floated up, people living free. Somewhere out there was Gus, probably wondering why she hadn't come to the wall. As night fell, Lydia decided. If her dad was planning to call her crazy, she had little time left. Tomorrow, she'd find a way out of her fancy cage or lose the chance forever. But tonight, she'd plan, hope, and remember some fights were worth it. Lydia's escape started with her mom's secret journal, found behind a loose floorboard in the parlor. The leather book, hidden for 12 years, was full of her mom's real thoughts and dreams. A woman way more interesting than the perfect wife her dad described. How do you live true in a world that wants you to act? Her mom wrote. I play Edmund's wife, society's lady, but I'm never just Eleanor, who wants to ride horses wild across plains and dance barefoot under stars. The pages showed a woman trapped like Lydia, but who fought back in small ways. Eleanor secretly gave money to women's rights groups, wrote to writers and activists, and planned a school for girls to learn real skills, not just ladylike stuff. If I can't be free, one page said, maybe I can help the daughters after me. Lydia held the journal tight, feeling her mom closer than ever. Here was proof she came from women who questioned and dreamed, who didn't just obey. Martha found her an hour later, crying as she read. I wondered when you'd find that, Martha said softly, sitting beside her. Your mom made me hide it for when you needed it most. She knew I'd need it. She knew you were her daughter, stubborn, smart, too curious. Martha smoothed Lydia's hair. She knew your dad would try to make you his idea of perfect, like he did with her. Why didn't she fight more openly? She fought her way by raising you to fight better. Every book she read you, every question she let you ask, every time she said think for yourself, that was her rebellion. That afternoon, Lydia used her mom's journal for courage. She started writing her own thoughts and plans. More importantly, she reached out for help. First, she talked to Dr. Henderson, who came back to check her health, but really to warn her. Your dad's talking to Judge Morrison, he whispered, pretending to check her pulse. They're preparing papers to lock you up. You've got maybe 2 days. Lydia stayed calm, despite her fear. If I suddenly wanted to travel for my health, travel needs money and papers your dad controls, Dr. Henderson said quietly. But a medical emergency might need a trip to a big city for special care. What kind of emergency? The kind needing someone big and strong to carry a sick patient to a wagon. His eyes twinkled, like he was in on a secret. Just a thought. That evening, Lydia told Martha her plan over dinner. I need to get a message to Gus. Can you do it without being seen? Martha thought. Young Tommy Fletcher delivers. Stuff to the fair. He likes our kitchen maid, Sarah, and she owes me. What's the message? Tell Gus if he meant what he said about fights worth having. There's a woman about to fight the biggest one yet. She could use a friend who gets what choosing freedom over safety means. The next day dragged slow, every second full of nerves. Lydia acted normal, hiding her plans, but her whole body buzzed with excitement and fear. She packed a small bag with plain clothes and her mom's jewelry to sell if needed, hiding it under her window seat. As afternoon turned to evening, she sat in the garden pavilion, watching the house and alley, heart pounding, wondering if Gus got her message, if he understood, if he'd risk helping a woman he barely knew. At sunset, she heard a harmonica outside the wall. Not the sad tune, but a bright, hopeful one, like a call to adventure. Miss Pembroke, Gus's voice was soft but urgent. You ready to be too big for your britches? She smiled, despite her fear. I'm ready to try. Listen close. In 1 hour, Dr. Henderson's coming, saying you called him for chest pains. When he checks you, faint, real good. He'll say you need to go to Denver's hospital for heart trouble. I'll be waiting with a wagon to take you, and by the time they figure out you're not at the hospital, we'll be long gone. Lydia's heart raced with fear, and risks are worth it. Why? Why risk so much for someone you just met? He paused. Because I've been where you are, trapped by what others want, dying a little every day. Someone helped me get out. Maybe it's my turn to help you. Who helped you? A woman who saw the real me and helped me see it too. She taught me running away isn't always weak. Sometimes it's the bravest thing. As the hour neared, Lydia got ready. She put on a simple travel dress and boots, pinned her hair tight, and tucked her mom's journal and jewelry in her dress. She kept the torn governor's ball invite as a reminder of what she was leaving. Dr. Henderson arrived right on time. Lydia took a deep breath for the act of her life. Martha! She called, loud enough for the house to hear. Help! I can't breathe! Everything went fast after that. Martha rushed in, Edmund came from his study, and Dr. Henderson showed, up with his medical bag, looking worried. When he listened to her chest, Lydia let her eyes roll back and went limp, trusting Martha to catch her. Her heart's all wrong, Dr. Henderson said seriously. Could be what killed her mom. She needs Denver's hospital now. Denver? Edmund sounded suspicious. Can't you treat her here? Your wife died of heart failure. Despite me trying, Dr. Henderson said. Want to risk your daughter, too? Mentioning her mom hit Edmund hard. After a pause, he nodded. What do you need? A strong guy to carry her to my wagon. Moving her could be dangerous. Right then, Gus appeared at the door, hat in hand, looking concerned. Heard someone needs a ride to Denver. My wagon's the best for rough roads. Lydia kept her breathing shallow, staying limp as Gus picked her up gently. Even pretending to be out, she felt his strength, his steady heartbeat, the smell of soap and leather on him. Be careful with her, Edmund said, his voice tight with real worry that surprised her. She's all I have. I'll protect her with my life, Gus said, and Lydia heard truth in his words. The wagon ride through town felt endless. Lydia kept up her act, listening to Dr. Henderson giving Gus fake medical instructions. The wheels on the cobblestones, the town sounds fading as they left Copperfield. Only when they were far out did Dr. Henderson say, You can stop pretending, dear. We're safe now. Lydia opened her eyes, lying in the wagon with a blanket under her head. Stars were popping out in the sky, and for the first time, she saw them outside her dad's property. How do you feel? Gus asked, his voice warm with worry and maybe admiration. Scared, excited, guilty, free, Lydia said, sitting up. She looked at the two men who risked everything for her. How can I thank you? By living the life you want, Dr. Henderson said. Your mom would be proud. As they rode through the night, Gus told her his story. He was raised to run his dad's ranch, to be tough and selfish. But when he saw his dad hurt workers and animals, he left it all behind for a better life. The fair found me when I was at my lowest, he said, holding the reins steady. Taught me strength without kindness is just meanness, and a man's worth isn't what he owns, but how he treats those who can't fight back. Is that why you helped me? Because I couldn't fight back? Gus looked back, serious. No, ma'am. I helped you because you were already fighting. You just needed a little help to make it fair. They reached a way station before dawn, where Dr. Henderson would go back with a story about Lydia needing weeks of special treatment. Gus would take her to the next town, where she could decide her future. As Dr. Henderson left, he gave her a small bag of coins. From your mom's secret account, he said. She wanted you to have a way to start over, to have choices. After he left, Lydia was alone with Gus for the first time since their campfire talk. It should have felt wrong, but she felt safer and more hopeful than ever. What now? She asked as they kept going. Now you decide who you are when nobody's watching, Gus said. The hardest, most important choice you'll make. As the sun rose over the prairie, all gold and pink, Lydia Pembroke started her first day of a life she chose. Behind her was everything familiar: comfort, safety, status, family approval. Ahead was uncertainty, challenges, and the scary freedom to win or lose on her own. She thought of her mom's journal, still against her heart, and her mom's dreams she never chased. Those dreams wouldn't die with her mom. Lydia would carry them into whatever future she was brave enough to make. For the first time, she wasn't too big for her life. She was just right for the adventure ahead. 2 days after escaping, Lydia learned freedom's first hard lesson. It came with a price that could break her heart. She was helping Gus with the horses at their camp outside Millfield when a rider galloped up, kicking up dust. It was young Tommy Fletcher, who'd carried her messages. His face was pale, and he was out of breath. "Miss Lydia, thank God I found you," he panted. "You gotta come back. Your dad's dying." The world spun. Lydia grabbed Gus's arm to steady herself. "Dying? How?" "Heart attack," Tommy gasped. "Happened the morning after you left. Dr. Henderson says it's bad. He's calling for you." Lydia's face went cold. "When did it happen?" "Yesterday morning. I've been riding since dawn to find you. He might not make it much longer." Gus's hand covered hers, warm and steady. "Tommy, you sure? It's that serious?" "Dr. Henderson sent me himself. Said if Miss Lydia wants to see her dad alive, she's got to come now." The choice hit her like a punch. Going back meant walking into the cage she'd just escaped. If her dad got better, he'd never let her leave again. But if she stayed away and he died thinking she abandoned him, she'd carry that. Guilt forever. "Could be a trick," Gus said quietly, saying what she was thinking. "To make you come back." Tommy's face got red. "Mr. Gus, I swear it's real. I saw Mr. Pembroke myself, gray, barely breathing. No trick." Lydia closed her eyes, feeling her old life pulling her back. But under the fear, she felt love for her dad, even with all his flaws. He was still her dad, and she couldn't let him die alone. "I have to go back," she said softly. "Lydia," Gus started, "I have to. If there's a chance he's really dying, I can't live with myself if I don't try to make peace." Gus looked at her for a long time, his eyes showing her pain. Then he nodded. "Then we go back together." "No," she said sharper than she meant. "Gus, if I go back, they'll arrest you for kidnapping. My dad might be dying, but Theodore's alive and will use this to get rid of you. You think I'd let you face this alone? I think you'd be crazy to throw your life away for a fight that might already be lost." She touched his face, memorizing it. "If my dad gets better, I might be stuck forever. You need to know that." "Then don't go." The words hung there, tempting her. For a second, she pictured it. Running off with Gus, starting fresh, never looking back. But she knew she couldn't live with that choice. "I have to try to fix things with him," she said. "For me, if not for him. I can't start a new life with old regrets." Gus was quiet, his eyes torn between understanding and frustration. Then he hugged her tight. "I'll wait," he said into her hair. "No matter how long, no matter where, I'll wait." "You can't promise that. You don't know what you're waiting for." "I know how I feel when I see you," he said, steady. "That doesn't change just because things get messy." They planned fast. Tommy would take Lydia back while Gus moved the fare to the next town and waited for news. If her dad got better and she was trapped, Gus would know not to come back. If her dad died and she was free, she'd send word through Dr. Henderson. As they parted, Gus gave her a small leather pouch that jingled with coins. "What's this?" "My savings from the fair," he said, serious. "Whatever happens, you'll have choices. You don't need your dad's money or Theodore's proposal. I can't take this. It's yours now." He closed her, hand around it. "Promise me, no matter what your dad says, you'll remember you have choices." Tears stung her eyes. In 2 days, Gus showed her more respect than she'd gotten in 28 years. "I promise," she said. The ride back to Copperfield felt like forever. Every mile made her old life heavier, like a coat she didn't want to wear. The freedom she'd tasted felt like a dream she might have made up. Tommy tried talking at first, but then let her be quiet. As they neared town, he spoke again. "Miss Lydia, what you did, running off, got people thinking. Talking about stuff they never did before." "Like what?" "If folks can choose their own lives even if their families don't agree. If being born rich means giving up your own choices." Tommy's face was serious. "My sister said it made her think about her future differently, that she doesn't have to marry whoever our parents pick." Despite her nerves, Lydia felt a tiny spark of pride. Maybe her rebellion meant something, even if it failed. They reached Copperfield at sunset, the streets casting long shadows. The town felt smaller, tighter, like her short time away changed how she saw it. The Pembroke mansion loomed ahead, its glowing windows looking more like a trap than a home. Martha was waiting at the door before they got off their horses. "Miss Lydia," she breathed, relieved. "Thank heaven you're here. How's Dad?" "Weak, very weak, but alive, asking for you." Martha's face got worried as she whispered, "Child, Mr. Whitmore's been here every day since you left. He's convinced your dad you're leaving caused his heart attack." Lydia's heart sank. If Theodore turned her dad against her, making up might be impossible. "Where's Theodore now?" "Gone home, but he'll be back in the morning." Martha hesitated. "He's talking about saying you're not right in the head, that your actions prove you can't think straight." The words hit hard. She knew Theodore was mean, but not this mean. "And Dad? What's he say?" "He says little, weak and confused. Sometimes he knows where he is. Sometimes he's lost in memories of your mom." Inside, the house felt smaller, darker. The fancy stuff like props in a play she didn't want to act in. Upstairs, she heard her dad's heavy breathing through his bedroom door. Martha knocked, then opened it, and Lydia's heart broke. The man in the big bed didn't. Looked like the strong dad who ruled her life. Edmund looked old, gray, his silver hair messy, his eyes cloudy with pain and maybe regret. "Lydia," he whispered, "is it really you?" "Yes, Father, I'm here." She took his hand, cold and thin. "I thought you wouldn't come," he said, tears in his eyes, real tears that surprised her. "I thought I'd lost you forever." "I'm here now," she said, sitting beside him. "Rest. We'll talk when you're stronger." But he struggled to sit up, face twisting with effort. "No, I need to say, I was wrong, Lydia, about so much." His words hung heavy, full of years of unsaid truth. Lydia's eyes teared up, seeing not the controlling dad, but a scared man who lost his wife and feared losing her too. "Father, save your strength." No strength left. He gripped her hand hard. "Listen, your mom tried to tell me love isn't control. It's letting go. I was scared if I let you choose, you'd leave me. So I built walls to keep you safe, but I made a prison." Lydia felt years of anger and hurt cracking open. "When you left, when I saw you'd risk everything rather than stay in my cage, I got it." "I don't expect forgiveness," he said, "but whatever you choose, wherever you go, you have my blessing. Your happiness matters more than my peace." Before she could answer, heavy footsteps came from the hall. Theodore appeared, his face darkening when he saw her. "So the runaway daughter's back," he said coldly. "I hope your little trip taught you how silly your rebellion was." Edmund turned to him, face red with effort and anger. "Get out, Theodore. You're not thinking straight. Get out of my house." Edmund's voice was weak but firm. "The engagement's off." Theodore's face changed colors. "You can't mean that. We have deals." "We have nothing. My daughter picks her own husband, or no husband, not you." Theodore stormed out, his last words a threat. "This isn't over, Edmund. Your daughter's actions have consequences. After he left, Lydia and her dad sat quietly, shaken. Finally, he spoke. He'll make trouble for you and anyone who helps you. I know. Then you can't stay here. Not if you want your own life. Tears ran down her cheeks. I don't want to leave you again. Not when you're dying, he said, his smile sad but calm. I've been dying since your mom passed. These days just made it clear. It's not sad, Lydia. It'd be sad if you gave up your future for my last days. They talked all night, catching up on years of missed talks, sharing truths too hard to say before. Edmund told her about her mom's secret dreams. The woman. She was before marriage. Lydia shared her dreams, her taste of freedom, and Gus, who showed her respect, not control. As dawn came, Edmund got weaker, but his mind stayed sharp. One more thing, he whispered. In my desk bottom drawer there's a ledger. Info about Theodore's shady deals. It could help if he causes trouble. What kind? The kind that ruins guys like him if the right people see it. As the sun rose, Lydia held her dad's hand, feeling the weight of tough choices again. She came back expecting old fights, but found forgiveness, blessing, and a new burden, the responsibility of real freedom. Outside, the town woke up, unaware of the drama in the Pembroke house. Somewhere, Theodore was planning his next move, his pride hurt. And beyond town, Gus was waiting, not knowing Lydia faced the hardest choice yet, claim the freedom her dad finally gave, or stay and fight for something bigger. 3 days after she came back, an attack on Sheriff Clayton hit hard and fast. Lydia was reading to her dad when Martha ran in, pale and scared. Miss Lydia, come quick. They brought Sheriff Clayton to Dr. Henderson's. Shot. Edmund tried to sit up, face twisting. Shot by who? Nobody knows, Martha said, twisting her apron. Found him on the road, his horse standing by him. Could be bandits, could be an accident. But Lydia saw fear in Martha's eyes. What aren't you telling us? Martha glanced at the door, whispering. Tommy found him, said the sheriff. Tried to say a name, but passed out from bleeding. What name? Edmund asked sharply. Tommy thought it sounded like Whitmore, but he's not sure. The room went quiet, the idea sinking in. If Theodore was behind this, he was getting dangerous, not just sneaky. I have to see how the sheriff is, Lydia said, standing. No, Lydia, Edmund said, strong despite his weakness. If Theodore did this, the streets aren't safe. Then I can't hide while good people get hurt for helping me. He reached into his bedside drawer, pulling out a small pistol. Take this, and take Martha. The walk to Dr. Henderson's felt like sneaking through enemy land. Lydia kept the pistol hidden in her bag, her hand on it. The streets felt different. Shadows scarier, every person a possible threat. Dr. Henderson's office was packed, people whispering worriedly. The doctor came out, face serious but not hopeless. How is he? Lydia asked. Alive. Weak from blood loss, but the bullet missed anything bad. He'll recover with time. Did he say who shot him? Dr. Henderson looked around, then pulled her aside. He was awake a bit when they brought him in. Said it wasn't bandits. Said he knew the shooter but couldn't prove it. Someone he trusted, close enough to shoot point blank. Theodore? He didn't say the name, but who else wants Clayton gone? The answer became clear over the next days. With the sheriff down, Theodore moved fast to take over the town. He pushed for a quick election for a temporary sheriff, picking Briggs, a guy loyal to the Whitmore Bank. He also spread lies about the fair, saying they caused crime, including the sheriff's shooting, even though they left before it happened. Theodore's story made them sound like criminals who hit and ran. He's making a case, Edmund said when Lydia told him. A story to justify whatever he's planning. What kind? The kind needing a loyal sheriff and a town scared of outsiders. That evening, a soft tap at the window made Lydia and her dad jump. 3 taps, 2, then 3 again. That's Tommy's signal, Martha whispered. He used it to sneak to Sarah. Lydia peeked through the curtains. Tommy looked up, urgent, holding a paper and pointing to the back of the house. I'll go, Martha said, but Lydia stopped her. No, if Theodore's watching, they won't suspect me moving in my own house. She went through the dark house to the kitchen door where Tommy waited. nervous. "Miss Lydia, thank God you're safe. Got a message from your big friend at the fair." Her heart leaped. "Gus? Where is he?" "Camped 5 miles out, waiting for word. But trouble's coming. Mr. Whitmore's sending riders, saying the fair's wanted for the sheriff's shooting. He's got a posse ready for tomorrow morning." Her face went pale. "When?" "Soon as it's light to track them." "Tommy, can you warn them tonight?" "I'll try, but the roads are watched. Whitmore's got men on all the main ways out. Then we need a distraction. Something big to keep them busy." Tommy's eyes got wide. "What kind?" Lydia thought of her dad's ledger, full of info to ruin Theodore. The kind that turns the hunter into the hunted. An hour later, in her dad's study, Lydia copied the worst parts of the ledger, proof of bribes, land scams, and loans to criminals. It showed Theodore built his money on lies and threats. "This'll destroy him," she whispered, finishing. "Only if it gets to the territorial authorities," Edmund said from his bed, "and only if you do it before Theodore knows. Leave that to me." She tucked the copies in her dress. "Tommy will get these to the marshal in the county. See, but first we'll make Theodore too busy to chase the fair." "What's your plan?" Lydia looked out at the town, her home and prison. "I'm giving Theodore the fight he wants with the Pembrokes, but this time I'm telling the story." The next morning, Lydia dressed like her mom would have. Elegant. Blue silk dress, her mom's diamond brooch and wedding ring. She looked like a perfect sorry daughter, but hid her dad's pistol and more ledger copies under her cloak. Martha worried when Lydia said she'd go to church, her first time out since returning. "It's too risky, Miss Lydia. Theodore's there, and everyone's talking about the sheriff. That's why I have to go," Lydia said, fixing her cloak. "Theodore's controlling the story about the sheriff, the fair, me. Time for a new version." Walking to church felt like going to war. Lydia held her head high, feeling eyes and whispers follow her. Some looked kind, some judgy, but all curious about the woman who broke the rules and came back. The church was full, like Martha said. Theodore sat up front with his mom, who looked sour. When Lydia walked in, everyone hushed, heads turning. She sat in the middle, not hiding, not acting big. Reverend Matthews seemed nervous, his sermon about forgiveness and redemption not landing right, especially with Theodore, who wanted a lecture on bad daughters. When church ended, Theodore blocked the doors, waiting for the crowd to thin for maximum drama. "Miss Pembroke," he said loud enough for everyone to hear, "glad you're better from your illness." The way he said it was mean, like he knew she wasn't sick. Lydia looked at him steady. "Thanks, Mr. Whitmore. I'm strong enough to care about our town now." "How nice," he said, fake. "I hope your little adventure didn't give you wrong ideas about your place here." "Oh, it gave me clear ideas about my place," Lydia said, her voice ringing in the quiet. She stepped closer, whispering so only he heard. "My place is wherever I want. And right now, I'm a big problem for guys who bully women into obeying." Theodore's face went red, but before he could talk, Lydia spoke loud for the crowd. "I hear some folks think the fair caused trouble. Maybe even the sheriff's shooting." "There's evidence," Theodore snapped, angry. "What evidence?" Lydia asked sharp. "I'd love to hear it, since the fair left a full day before the sheriff got shot." People murmured, surprised. Not everyone knew that. "They're leaving. Looks suspicious," Theodore said, less sure. "Or they had other shows to do, like performers do," Lydia said, smiling but with hard eyes. "Unless you've got proof they did it? Witnesses, maybe? Or are we just supposed to believe you?" Theodore's jaw worked, but he had nothing. The crowd was listening, some nodding at Lydia's point. "Funny," she went on. "You're quick to blame outsiders when the real trouble's closer to home." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying facts." She pulled out a paper from her bag. Not the ledger, but a list she made. Like, 3 families lost homes last year when your bank changed their loans. 2 businesses burned down after their owners wouldn't sell to certain people. Sheriff Clayton was looking into it before he got shot. The crowd was hooked, some faces showing they knew these stories, but were scared to speak. Theodore's face went white. "You're making big claims with no proof. These are facts anyone can check in public records," Lydia said calmly, loud. "Records the sheriff was reading before someone decided he was trouble." "How dare you?" How dare I ask questions, look for truth, act like a citizen checking on powerful people? She stepped forward, and Theodore stepped back. Or are some folks too big to question? A commotion stopped him from answering. Tommy ran up the church steps, out of breath. Miss Lydia, they're coming back, the fair, and territorial. Marshals with them, badges and all. Theodore spun, alarmed. What? Saw them on the North Road, Tommy said loud. And they've got warrants. Not for the fair, for people here in town. Theodore looked at Lydia, scared and suspicious. You sent them info. I sent them truth, she said calmly. Something we've been short on. People started leaving, excited to spread the news. Theodore stood frozen, staring at Lydia with hate and maybe a tiny bit of respect. You don't know what you've done, he said quietly. The consequences will be justice, Mr. Whitmore. If that scares you, maybe ask why. Walking away from the church, leaving Theodore alone, Lydia felt done. She'd picked her fight, stood her ground, and started a war brewing since she first said no. Behind her, hoofbeats announced the marshals and fair arriving. Among them was Gus, no longer hiding, ready to face what came next. An hour later, Sheriff Clayton's badge was pinned on Gus, shining like a promise. The injured sheriff, resting at Dr. Henderson's, suggested Gus himself, and the marshals agreed, trusting him to fight Copperfield's corruption. As acting sheriff, Gus could dig into Theodore's crimes with the law behind him, determined to finish what he started. The fight for Copperfield's heart was on, with justice, law, and a town ready for better. 3 days later, a wanted poster appeared outside the marshal's office. Lydia stopped cold when she saw it while running errands. The face was Gus's, but the name wasn't. Wanted, dead or alive, U.S. Marshal Garrison McCall, $500 reward for murdering Deputy Marshal William Chen and stealing territorial funds. Presumed dead, but maybe alive. Extremely dangerous. Her hands shook as she read it again. The photo was Gus, younger, in a marshal's uniform, but definitely him. Hard to believe, huh? Theodore's voice came from behind, smug and cold. His being there wasn't chance. You put this up, she whispered. Just checked on our new sheriff's past. Amazing what you find with the right friends. He studied the poster, fake curious. Marshal Garrison McCall. Had a big career until he killed his partner and ran off with money. No way. Gus would never... Gus? Theodore laughed, mean. That's what he told you? Cute for a guy on the run. Lydia felt everything she knew about Gus crumbling. The kind giant who helped her, who talked about justice. Was he a killer? I see you're doubting, Theodore said, fake worry in his voice. You're starting to see the guy you've been protecting. He used you to hide from the law. No, she said, stronger than she felt. I don't believe it. Believe what you want. The marshals who made him sheriff didn't check well. When they hear who he is, he shrugged. They'll fix their mistake fast. You're going to tell them. I'm doing my duty as a good citizen. His smile was like a snake. Unless you want to make a deal, his threat was clear. Marry him, obey him, give up her freedom, or he'd ruin Gus. I need time to think. Time's what you don't have. Marshals are back tomorrow morning. If I'm reporting our sheriff's real name, it's then. You've got till tomorrow evening. Marry me, announce it publicly, or I spill his secret. After he left, Lydia stared at the poster, memorizing it. Something felt off, but she couldn't place it. The date, 3 years ago, said Gus was presumed dead, no body found. And the charges didn't fit the Gus she knew, who spoke of justice. With passion, not like a crook. She decided. She tore down the poster and tucked it in her bag. She'd hear the truth from Gus. At the sheriff's office, he was buried in papers, trying to learn his new job fast. When she walked in, he smiled, his face lighting up with that honest warmth she trusted. How could someone fake that? Lydia, didn't expect you today. He stood, worried. You look upset. Everything okay? I need to ask something, and I need the truth. Her tone made him serious. Of course. What? She put the poster on the desk. Gus stared at it, his face showing shock, pain, resignation, then maybe relief. Where'd you get this? Theodore put it up. Says he'll tell the marshals unless I marry him. Gus closed his eyes, fists clenching. I see. Is it true? Are you Marshal Garrison McCall? Yes. The word hit like a punch. And the charges? Did you kill your partner? Steal. Money? He was quiet so long she feared the worst. When he spoke, his voice was heavy. The official story is I killed Bill Chen over money we were carrying, then ran with it, leaving his body. The truth's messier. Tell me the truth. He looked out the window at the town. Bill and I were partners 2 years, like brothers. We were carrying evidence and money for a big corruption case. Senators, railroad guys, big shots. 3 days from Denver, we got ambushed by pros, not random thieves. They knew what we had, where we'd be. Someone sold us out. Your partner? Bill got shot first, dying but awake. With his last breath, he told me our Captain Hendricks betrayed us, taking bribes to kill cases. Lydia shivered. What did you do? Tried to save Bill, but it was too late. The killers were coming, wanting the evidence gone. So I took the money box and ran to get it to honest folks. But you didn't make it. Got to a trading post 50 miles from Denver, but Hendricks spread word I killed Bill and stole the cash. Bounty hunters were after me. So you vanished. Couldn't prove I was innocent without the evidence, and couldn't get it to anyone without dying. The fair found me half dead, nursed me back, gave me a place to hide. The evidence? The money? Gus pulled a battered box from a chest. Right here, every cent, every paper, kept for 3 years waiting for the right time. Lydia stared at the box, things clicking. The marshals who made you sheriff, do they know who you are? They do now. Told them everything when. They gave me the badge, showed the evidence, explained it all. His face got grim. They're using me as bait, Lydia. Hendricks is still out there, hiding his crimes. If word spreads I'm alive with the evidence, he'll come for me. It hit her like a wave. You're making yourself a target. Only way to get him out. As long as he thinks I'm dead, he's safe. If I show up with proof to ruin him, he'll come himself. What happens to you? Depends if I live long enough to testify. Lydia got mad. Not at Gus, but at the mess that forced him to lie. Why didn't you tell me you were a marshal, not just a performer? I wanted to be just a performer for a bit, to offer you a simple life, not this danger. His voice softened. I didn't want you in this mess, but I am. Theodore knows, and he'll use it to destroy us. Then we move faster than him. Gus pulled out a map. Marshals are setting a trap for Hendricks. I have to look easy to hit alone. What trap? I make myself visible to draw him out, then hope I'm quick enough to live. He looked serious. Lydia, if I survive, I'm still a marshal. That's constant travel, danger, no normal life, no safety. Trying to scare me off? Trying to be real about what life with me is. No big house, no status, no safety. She put her hands on his chest, feeling his heartbeat. Gus. Garrison, whatever. Do you think I escaped one cage to jump in another? I fought for my life, not the safest one. You deserve better than always watching your back. I deserve to choose my life, and I want to stand with you because I believe in your fight, not because it's safe. He stared, then hugged her tight. Too big for you, he whispered. I'll try, she whispered back, feeling him smile. Outside, the sun set over Copperfield, all gold and red. Tomorrow brought danger, a fight 3 years coming. But tonight, they held each other, pretending love could beat anything, even knowing one or both might not make it to their future. At dawn, a rider brought a telegram, his horse sweaty from a hard ride. Lydia was reading her mom's poetry to her dad when Martha burst in. No knock. Miss Lydia, bad news. Edmund sat up, worried. What? Captain Hendricks is dead. Shot in Denver 3 days ago with 2 marshals trying to arrest him. The book fell from Lydia's hands. If Hendricks was dead, Gus's reason to stay was gone. His evidence could clear his name, end his fugitive life, but it also meant Theodore had no reason to keep Gus's secret. With Hendricks gone, he could ruin Gus out of spite, wrecking Lydia's happiness. There's more, Martha said, nervous. Marshals are coming today to get the evidence and take Marshal McCall to Denver for a talk. But Mr. Whitmore was at the telegraph office when the message came. He knows. Edmund paled. How long? Marshals arrived by noon, but Theodore left an hour ago, and nobody's seen him. Lydia stood, mind racing. He's planning something to hit Gus before the marshals get here. Or you, Edmund said. Theodore's mean when he's crossed. If he can't have you, he'll make sure nobody does. His words chilled her. She'd shamed Theodore publicly, and now she was escaping with Gus. A guy like him wouldn't just give up, he'd want revenge. I need to warn Gus, she said, heading out. Wait! Martha grabbed her arm, glancing at Edmund. Tommy? Came by early, scared. Saw armed strangers riding to Theodore's last night. Not locals, hired guns. Hired guns, Edmund said grimly. How many? Tommy counted 6 or 8, all with rifles, riding like they had a plan. Lydia's resolve hardened. She'd been reacting to Theodore's moves, but no more. If he was turning to violence, she'd fight back. She grabbed her dad's revolver, checking it was loaded. Lydia, what's your plan? Edmund asked. Worried. I'm done being hunted. Done letting men control me with threats. She checked the gun's chambers. Time to show Theodore some women fight back. But before she could go, Edmund called, strong despite his weakness. Lydia, come here. She went to his bedside, surprised by his fierce eyes. In my wardrobe drawer behind a secret panel, your mom left something for you. Lydia found the hidden catch, revealing a pouch and a letter in her mom's handwriting, saying to open it when Lydia needed her heritage more than her inheritance. She read, My dearest Lydia, if you're reading this, you're choosing between safety and being true, comfort and courage. I chose comfort, became Edmund's wife, society's lady, not Eleanor Hartwell, who dreamed of adventure and justice. I don't regret it. It gave me you. But I want you to have what I didn't. A choice. The pouch has your great-grandmother's jewelry, passed down through our women, and a deed to land in California no man can take. It's not riches, but freedom to choose your path, love who you want, live without anyone's permission. Be brave, my daughter. Sometimes courage is refusing to be scared. Love, mother. The pouch had jewelry, a deed to 40 acres, and a bank draft for a new start. She planned this, Lydia whispered. Even living Dad's way, she set me up to choose different. Your mom was wiser than we knew, Edmund said. She knew love means letting go. Lydia tucked the papers and jewelry in her dress, feeling her mom's strength. Father, if something happens to me, tell the marshals the truth. Don't let Theodore rewrite it. If you win, live the life your mom wanted for you. She kissed his forehead. I love you, Father. Thanks for getting it. The ride to the sheriff's office felt like the town was holding its breath. Streets were too quiet, people watching her with worry and curiosity. At the office, Gus was packing his evidence for Denver. Seeing her face, he got worried. What's wrong? Theodore knows the marshals are coming. He's hired 6 to 8 gunmen. She told him what Martha said, watching his face harden. How many? 6 to 8 per Tommy? Gus locked the evidence case. Marshals won't be here for 3 hours. If Theodore's moving, it'll be before then. What do we do? I face the threat, like I'm trained. Hope I'm good enough to live. He grabbed a rifle, checking it. Lydia, go somewhere safe. Dr. Henderson's, maybe. No way, she said firm. I'm not hiding while you fight alone. This isn't your fight. It is since Theodore used me against you, since he thinks he can scare me into obeying. She pulled her revolver, checking it steady. I know how to shoot. Dad taught me young. Shooting targets isn't shooting people. I'm ready to find out. She met his eyes. You said Theodore's got 6 to 8 pros. How long you think you'll last alone, no matter how good you are? Gus paused, torn, then nodded. Stay close. Do what I say, when I say. If it goes bad, he pulled a deputy's badge from his desk, shining in the light. If I don't make it, pin this on. Tell the marshals everything. Get the evidence to Denver. As he pinned the badge on her, Lydia felt new weight. Not just a rich girl rebelling, but Deputy Marshal Lydia Pembroke, sworn to justice no matter the cost. They didn't wait long. At 10, Tommy ran up, scared and excited. Sheriff, they're coming! 8 guys armed, riding like soldiers. Gus peeked out the window. Riders approached, weapons clear from blocks away. Theodore's not with them, he said. He wouldn't be, Lydia said. He wants to say he didn't know if they win or blame us if they lose. Gus checked his rifle. Time to see how this ends. But as they got ready, Dr. Henderson ran up, medical bag in hand, face urgent. Sheriff, thank God. Accident. At the Pembroke house. Edmund's worse, asking for Lydia. Her blood froze. What happened? Another heart episode. Worse than before. He glanced at the riders. He might not have long. The timing was too perfect. Either Dad was really dying, or Theodore planned this.
To split her.